And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Grade A Fantasy is back, and we are here to preview the last full slate of the season. We are here, week 18 for the FanDuel main slate, and we're going to go about it a little differently here. Instead of me picking the top plays, I'm just going to go over I'm gonna go over it in this format once, and then what I'll do is I'll continue my top plays format for each position with the running back and wide receivers, so on and so forth. But what I'll do here is I'll explain what I like here, but I'll also be explaining the playoff scenarios of where and where we should start from, lineup building and everything and such things like that. So that's what I'll do with this format for today's show. So please pay attention. I might have to do timestamps, possibly, but well, I'll probably just but I'll be incorporating certain players with the playoff scenario of what their team will be dealing with coming into the final week. So, hey, you should play this guy. This guy's not playing for nothing. Most likely, this guy's going to sit down, such and such, so on and so forth. So just bear with me. It's a new format, but I made sure I got all my information set and ready. And hopefully, this is still a short and quick, sufficient but informative video for all you people out there getting ready for the final week of the regular season. And man, it's a doozy. So we will start on the AFC side. I'm going to be bouncing around. Plus, it's basically a full slate. Now, obviously, there's a set of teams who have their own playoff scenario. On Saturday, what we have is a two-gamer. I will not be talking about those guys, those teams, nor will I be bringing up their playoff. Now, some of their playoff scenarios do influence a few things that's going on Sunday. But obviously, they're not on the main slate, so we'll just focus on the scenarios for the main slate. So that means I will not talk about the Saturday 4:30, 8 o'clock games of Cleveland at Baltimore, Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. They will not be mentioned. The teams might be mentioned because there is maybe a Sunday's team playoff scenario, but as in going in depth, no, I will not be going over those teams at all. So let's jump right into it. We'll start in the AFC. We'll start off and we'll travel down a little bit. We'll start right here with the man. It was completely obvious once they clinched 15-1. Patrick Mahomes sitting. They have nothing to play for. They will be the number one seed. Expect people like Mahomes. I would say possibly Hollywood Brown, since they just got him back. Travis Kelce. Maybe some defensive starters, like their main key guys, and even though they're trying to work him back in, I would definitely say Isaiah Pacheco is probably another one that will be sitting Sunday against the Broncos. So in that case, since there's starters on both sides, I think a good place to start Sunday will definitely, without a doubt, they have to win to get in. There is no let's get ahead and probably, take your foot off the pedal. One, it's a division rival, and like, hey, you got to get in there. So Bo Nix, once again, is a great start at 7,800. If you have optimizers or anything, I would definitely say you could probably cross out pretty much just KC in general. But the interesting thing is, those are the type of games where you might be able to find some type of value. But I think you'll be able to find that kind of value in games where playoffs are not involved or not in the picture for certain teams. But we'll get to those games in a bit. Next, I'm keeping it simple with the teams that don't have much to play for. So we'll go from KC and we're gonna go right there, not too far from Patrick, at 7,300. CJ Stroud. Houston has nothing to play for. They clinched week 15 because that division is so bad. So win or lose, they can't improve their seeding, they can't fall. So here's something. If they can't improve and can't fall, don't have nothing to play, should they sit their starters? Obviously, the main thing was KC has already said more than likely they'll be sitting a decent amount of starters. Now, with Andy Reid, you never know. Coaches do worry about playoff rust, sitting for a long time, but this is a banged up team. I think if any, I still put it like this. I don't think the Chiefs are fantasy viable. They have nothing to play for. You can't be risk. It's a division matchup. You can't be risking any injuries, any hard. That is a tough Denver defense. I don't think they play. I really don't think they play. There's a lot of bruised up, banged up players on it, and the stars are bruised up and banged up. But if there's two teams that literally have nothing to play for and nothing's gonna happen to them, whether they lose 70-3, win 70-3, it's Houston and it's KC. But like I said, if anything, I would say it's definitely without a doubt some of KC starters sit. And if you ask me right now, I think it's some of KC starters sit, and maybe Houston plays a bit and then sits them for the half, possibly. It's a meaningless game on the road at Tennessee, so there you go with that. So now, let's get into the nitty-gritty, where playoff implications do matter. We shall now go up just a tad. Justin Herbert, 7,700 at Las Vegas. Already a good matchup as well, even though the Raiders have been playing well towards the end of the season. So, what's at stake for the Chargers? They can climb up to the 5th seed if they beat the Raiders and a Pittsburgh loss to Cincinnati. They stay the 6th seed if they lose to the Raiders and a Pittsburgh win. So yes, there goes the first scenario of a Sunday team that's going to be looking out for what the Saturday team does. They are already in. They're one of those teams that are already in. So this is the case of, can you move your playoff seeding and positioning? That's what this is. So Chargers have a good matchup, viable. Herbert, McConkey, and the running game is viable depending on who's in the backfield, depending on who it is. But the Chargers are still a good pick to play. I don't think that's a team that's going to be taking their foot off the pedal. Plus, it's not like they're playing for a bye. They're just playing for seeding. But I still think that's a team that continues to play forward. Plus, with a guy like Jim Harbaugh, that's definitely a guy that's going to play all 17, headstrong, and, have some, playoff, have some regular season momentum going into the playoffs. And then, like I said, we already went over Denver. The next main scenario for Sunday, like I said, there are Saturday implications, but we're only going for Sunday on the main slate. We have to go, and this is going to be interesting. Miami has to win. And to get in, they have to beat the Jets on the road, and they have to have the Broncos lose. That is their main scenario. So winning, you're in, but they're going to need help. They're going to need help. And the question is, do you have Tua playing, or will they have... And like I said, if he's not there, we might have some more value. Tyler Huntley did look good. And he has done this in the past before. Like I said, he's no scrub. He's done this in the past before, holding on and helping Baltimore hold on to not only playoff hopes, but division wins and stuff like that. In his past, the man has made a Pro Bowl doing that. So at the Jets, maybe a bit of a it's Jets will like to play spoiler and everything. Jets are a lot down. They're gonna come out angry and ready to at least spoil somebody's season after getting demolished in Buffalo. So I think that's definitely an interesting scenario. If Tua is not cleared, I think Tyler Huntley, very mobile quarterback, has a good arm, might get Jalen Waddle back, might get that, so he might have one more bit of a weapon. And then of course, with the way they can't stop the run, I do like A-Chain in this matchup. But like I said, we're just previewing off the QB preview. So Tyler Huntley at 6,700 is definitely a good choice. And now we'll stick with the quarterback, but now I'm going to get to the NFC. And let's just start with the nitty-gritty. The NFL scheduling could have not gotten this right. This is for it all. Probably the only thing bigger for these two teams is if they was to meet up for the NFC Championship and get on to the Super Bowl. Vikings, Lions, literally winner takes all. Winner takes the division, winner takes the number 1 seed. I already previewed this. Don't even try it. It's almost impossible. The pricing is too expensive. It's not going to happen. You cannot stack this game. You're either going to pick a quarterback, get a stack, and want to run back. Either or. But as you can see, Sam Darnold's now in the 8,000 threshold, so he's no longer the cheap 74, 75, even 76, where you get at least a little $400 to $500 relief off the main quarterbacks. No, not at all. And you already know how it is stacking Jared Goff with Amon-Ra St. Brown or stacking him with Jahmyr Gibbs. You got to pick a comeback. There is no stacking this game. You're either gonna pick Goff and go Gibbs with a Jefferson run back, which is pretty expensive, or go Gibbs with an Addison run back, or do something weird like Sam Darnold with Addison, and then maybe go with an Amon-Ra comeback or a Gibbs comeback, something like that. You're only going to really viably get 3 people for this team, maybe 4 if you go with the cheap tight, go with the tight ends. That's something like that, but the main wide receivers are a little bit too expensive. The role players, there's none of those guys that are under 65. I think Jameson Williams, out of all the main weapons, is the cheapest at 65, and that's it. So good luck doing that. But Sam Darnold and Jared Goff will be literally battling for it all. Normally it's something like, oh, 2 rivals, yeah, they're going to go at each other for the number 1 seed. No, they're going at each other for the number 1 seed and the right to say that they won their division this year. So both guys definitely viable. All Minnesota and Detroit players in the player pool. All systems go. For the Eagles, it's a little weird here. And there's that guy right there. I say he doesn't play. I say they rest him. Why? The Eagles are locked into number 2. No matter what they do, they can't influence what's going on between Detroit and Minnesota. They're locked in at number 2. The only person who's probably fantasy viable, I think maybe some of those guys play and maybe they get pulled. But I think once Saquon Barkley, I mean, the only good thing is that Saquon needs, I think, 102 or 105? So if he gets 102, 105, you're hoping that he gets over 100 first off. So that's 10 points plus the 3-point bonus. So that's 13. And you're hoping Saquon gets pretty much a touchdown in that. Because I got a feeling once he breaks the record, whatever quarter he breaks the record, I think that's when he sits. So viable. I mean, he could bust off a run early, but most likely I see something like maybe by the second he's maybe a little short, and then by the third, if he breaks it, okay, let's give him the rest, and we got to get ready for the playoffs because they can't move. They're pretty much like Houston. They're pretty much KC, but pretty much Jalen Hurts. Who knows if he even clears concussion protocol? But that's the one thing you'll have to worry about there. Now let's get to the players that, or the parts of the player pool that need to win, or winning can actually do something here. Let's go all the way down here. $7,000. Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford and the Rams can clinch the 3 seed with a win versus the Seahawks. They have to win versus the Seahawks to climb up higher. I think if they lose, they just fall to 4. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they just fall to 4, maybe 5. But the Rams can move up and clinch the 3 seed with a win at home against Seattle. So Matthew Stafford, Puka, and these guys, I think all systems go there. Same thing, I think, goes with Seattle. Tampa Bay, to get in, needs to beat New Orleans. It's pretty much a playoff game for them. They've been riding hot, so we all know it's all systems go for good old Baker Mayfield, who has now played himself into the upper echelon this week. He's 84, the 3rd highest priced QB on the slate. So him, Mike Evans, Bucky Irvin, that's another great matchup for them. They just got to take care of business to get into the playoffs. As we see here with his great comeback last night, Jaden Daniels and Washington, they clinched with that win last night. They can get the 6th seed with a win over Dallas. I think if they lose, they can only fall to the 7th. But they're in. All they could do is move their seeding. That is it. For Green Bay, they're the same thing. They're like Washington. So we can go down here and we'll find Jordan Love. Same thing. Like Washington, they're in. Can only get the 6th or 7th seed. Whoever wins is the 6th. Whoever loses is the 7th. So pretty much Chicago and Green Bay will be fighting for just higher seeding, pretty much. And when it comes to win and you're in, another scenario, Atlanta. Since they lost, they have to beat Carolina, but they need Tampa Bay to lose. So if you feel impressed by what he did so far, there you go right there. He has something to play for. Even though, yes, they will protect him with Bijan, but 6,900, Michael Penix Jr. did play solid last night. 223, did have an interception fumble, but 6,900, 12.2. I mean, it's only 2 weeks, but hey, he's improving every week at 6,900. If he can give you 15 this week, then hey, who knows? This magic can't happen. I mean, it is against Carolina, so he'll definitely have more time to throw. Carolina does not have a good pass rush, so things can happen there. Now we can go to the rest of the slate and just talk about it as normal with other players, other people who I find fantasy viable that we can pick here when it comes to the playoffs, and I think who have a high upside of not sitting and maybe playing well, because you know some of those games that don't have playoff implications, those are the games that can sneak up on you. So what I like here, depending on whoever starts, I'm not gonna lie, the offenses do look different depending on who the quarterback is. But whoever starts for Indy, I like them against Jacksonville. Who I definitely like going all the way down to paying for Mac Jones at 6,700 against Indy. He's most likely it's a toss, not a toss up, but I do favor Mac Jones in this scenario. Even though Tyler Huntley does have the bigger upside with his rushing ability, I love Mac Jones as a cheap stack against Indy at 6,700. If you want to go that way, because most likely he will sit, like I said, I do believe that the KC starters will sit. You could go all the way down to Carson Wentz at 6,700 against the Giants. I mean, here's the thing. He's the backup. So if he doesn't hurt his ribs again, and if he's cleared, Kenny Pickett, he's the backup. So there's no need to take him out early. Now, the ribs got re-injured. So if Kenny Pickett can't go, then you're most likely looking at Tanner McKee all the way down to 6,400. He ended up throwing a touchdown last week anyway, so against the Giants, that could be possible. Just giving you options here. Those are guys that whoever starts will be in there for the entire game, pretty much. Even though it is a tough matchup, Aiden O'Connell to finish off the season, all the way down at 6,600. Mason Rudolph, he could be an option. Not my favorite pay down, but it's a suggestion. Houston doesn't have anything to play for. Could they sit some of their starters? Do they play half and then like maybe Mason Rudolph can get you some points in the second half of that game at 6,500? He doesn't need much. And as we keep going along here, I mean, I'm thinking the same thing, FanDuel. There's a reason why you put Mitch Trubisky all the way up to 7,000. I mean, like I said, Josh Allen probably doesn't play, or probably doesn't play the whole game. Like I said, Joe Flacco. Like I said, any indie guy, whoever starts, looks good. Playoff scenario, so Gino, 7,200. That stack is cheap. You got to like Brock Purdy at 74. How can I forget my man Brock at 74 against Arizona? You just never know what Arizona defense you're going to get, but I always have faith in Purdy. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm not going through the roller coaster Kyler Murray. I'm just not. But yeah, those are the people that I do like. So you know your playoff scenario quarterbacks. When it comes to the paydowns, like I said, anybody in the, like, my favorite plays this week, I'm not gonna lie, besides quarterbacks fighting for some spots, Anthony Richardson and or Joe Flacco. And then when we go all the way down, Tyler Huntley, I'm sorry, but yeah, they're some of my favorite plays. But when it comes to the budget, yeah, Tyler Huntley, Mac Jones, and not gonna lie, probably my favorite play is whoever the Indy quarterback is gonna be. Not gonna lie, it's a good matchup against Jacksonville, and my favorite pay down is Mac Jones and Huntley. So that is your playoff scenario / QB preview for Week 18 of the playoffs. Good luck. This is a huge slate. Basically, everybody's here. It is a 14-game slate. Good luck, everybody. Grade A Fantasy, signing off.